Okay, hello and welcome to this video. I've been streaming the development of a mod called More Food. It's available on the Cursor Launcher at the moment and it's for 1.8. 1.8.9 in fact. The mod itself adds a bunch of items and adds a couple of other things as well. It adds a couple of crops. But I just wanted to do a quick video to show you how to make items yourself in your own mod. Now, I'm going to assume you've never done any modding before. So what we're going to do very quickly, actually, is I'm going to cut to a completely fresh instance of the Forge thing, and we'll go from there. So I'll be right back. So I've got a copy of this here somewhere. It's the MDK, right? So if I extract all into a folder called item tutorial, and then we'll carry on from there. Okay, so this is the folder. We're actually going to need one of these as well, and we are going to need... That'll do. Okay, so this is my downloads folder. I downloaded this particular version of Forge a little while ago. There are much newer versions that are out now. This is actually the 1.8.8 version of Forge. You should probably go for the 1.8.9 version. I am in fact going to download the 1.8.9 version at some point over the weekend and update all my stuff to work on 1.8.9. I believe it's all compatible. I've been using a mod compiled using this on a 1.8.9 server, so that should be fine. So we'll just use this for the tutorial. It should work for any version of 1.8 anyway. So all you do is you right click, you extract all, you put it into a folder, and then if you open up a command prompt, and then you need to change to the downloads, and then CD, and then I put this in a folder called item tutorial. And then if we put dir up, so we actually want to do Gradle W setup decomp workspace. Don't worry about what this means. All it means is it's going to set up some stuff for us in the background. Okay, so that's now done. The next thing we need to do is we need to do Gradle W Eclipse. Okay, now that that's all completed, what we can do next is we can actually open up the file itself. Right, so I will open Eclipse. What we do now is, this is what we've been editing. So I'm going to go into Browse. I'm going to go, where are we? We're in More Food at the moment, but we're actually going to be in Item Tutorial, which is that one. And go into Eclipse, and then click on OK, and then open it. And then that will open up the Eclipse IDE. This is what we've got. Let me show you. If I open this up, we've got in here, we've got an example mod, which pretty much does nothing. Just follow the example. I'll tell you what we can do. We'll just copy all of this. Copy, copy, copy. Right, okay, so we'll get rid of this whole thing. The whole package can go. So the first thing we do is to delete the whole package. Yes. Okay, now in Java, we need to create a new package. Okay, so in order to build a package, you want to give it a unique name. Now, the accepted example is to put, if you have a domain name, you put in com.workshopcraft, which is my domain, workshopcraft.com. I own that domain. It is mine. No one else can use it, so that is why I put that there. You don't have to put a domain. You can put anything you want. So you can just put your Minecraft name, and then dots, whatever. It doesn't matter. You can put whatever you want, as long as it's unique. And that's what I've done. And then you need to put the name of the mod as the package name. So full stop and then the package name. So for example, with more food, it's more food. With simple machines, it's simple machines. We're going to use, because this is an item tutorial, we're going to use item tutorial. No underscore, no, tutorial. Tutorial. There we go. Item tutorial. There we go. Done. Okay, and then what we want to do is we want to create a new class called item tutorial, like so. And then we will replace all of this with this thing here. Now we need to change this line here to our package name, which is com.workshopcraft.item tutorial. Okay, this one. And it will recommend stuff for you to fill that in. And this is going to be item tutorial. That's not right. It's got to be lowercase because I've made it a lowercase name. Now, you know what? We'll do it properly. Because I'm supposed to be trying to teach you guys how to do this properly. So we're going to do it properly. And there we go. Item tutorial. Okay, so that's pretty much what you have to do. The name of the mod is item tutorial. And the version is version 1. We'll get rid of this junk because it's not needed. And we will save it. And then because I want to do this properly, we're going to refactor it by renaming it to item tutorial. And in Java, it's very important. It's very important that you get the case correct, because there is a difference between lowercase and uppercase. And if you make a mistake, it can make things a little bit confusing. So for example, on More Foods, I made a conscious decision to make all of the class names lowercase, which is not the normal way of doing things, and make all of the object names camel case, with the first word being lowercase, which is normally item or block, and then the rest of it is camel case, so that it's item underscore potato with a capital P underscore cooked with a capital C, and then that will be it. So right, this is an empty mod. It won't do anything, but we can add stuff to it. So we need to create a class in its own, and it'll be in a package called, let's call it com.workshopcraft.itemtutorial.items. There we go. Much better. Okay, so that's now relative to the main class, which is our program. So what we do is inside this folder, it's basically a folder. You don't need, a package is a folder. You don't need to have to worry about, you know, the various things. And then the class is the actual thing. So for this tutorial, we're going to create an item. It's going to be, what kind of item should we make? Basic item. Basic item. And it's a Java file, so you don't have to worry about that. And then the basic item, it needs to base itself on an existing template, an existing class, because otherwise the rest of Minecraft won't know what it is. For example, and this is exactly what we're going to do right now, we're going to extend the item class, okay, and it'll come with a little red X next to it, but you don't have to worry about that. In fact, no, we can fix that right now. If you hold down Control, Shift, and press the O button, it will give you a list of different items, and we want this one, which is the first one, which is the Minecraft one, and then that will fix the error. The next thing we need to do is we need to give it a name. With my classes, I usually do it like this: private string name equals nothing, and then for an item we'll go item set creative tab and that's going to be the actual creative tab that we're going to use. I think that's right. Or is that just another item? I can never remember. But anyway, so that's that. That's that one. Oh, that's going to be a capital S, isn't it? Haha. There we go. So, as you can see, even I can make mistakes. So, we need to create something called a constructor now. Now, the constructor is basically, it's the thing that is called when a class is created. So, when you do new in front of a class, you do something. Have I got an example of that? I haven't at the moment, but we'll get to that in a moment anyway. So what we do is we do public. What's the name again? Basic item. Basic item. Oh, whoops! There we go. And then what we want it to do is we're going to do if name dot equals missing a bracket. There we go. If the name is equal to nothing, which it is at the moment, then we do nothing. Else game registry dot register item this comma name, and that should be it for that. And what that will do is it will register the item in the game registry so that it shows up in places so that you can actually do stuff with it. If you don't do that, then stuff won't work. The next thing I need to do is set unlocalized name more food. No, it's not more food, is it? Item tutorial dot item. No, not dot items. Dot mod ID plus underscore plus name. We'll do this. Set maximum stack size 64. And then that will give us a basic constructor. It won't be the best constructor because it doesn't allow us to pass in information. So we can create a second constructor called public basic item. But this one, you can pass into it different things. So string, uname, super. The first thing we need to do is game registry dot register item this comma uname, and then we do name equals is equal to uname because we passed it in, so we can do that. And then we set this dot set unlocalized name, and then it's item tutorial dot mod ID plus underscore plus name, and then that will do. That'll be almost everything. We also want to have a function on here which will be useful later on called public string get name, and that will return name. There we go. And then that should be fine. Now, hopefully that all makes sense. You've extended the basic item. You've told it how to give it a name, so that when you create the item later on, you've got a way of doing that without having to do it all manually. And then if you create a lot of these items, then you can just use this one class. You don't need to keep creating new classes. Found this out the hard way. You can use the same class over and over. So that's what we're going to do. Okay, so the next thing we need to look at is go back to this one, item tutorial. We need to go through and we need to figure out what do we need to do in order to make this create that item. Now, the first thing we want to do is we want to create the item as a public static item, I think. Public static, and we'll make it a basic item. And we'll call it, what kind of item shall I make, I wonder? Shall we make something interesting, or shall we make something just generic? Let's create a... We'll make a stick. We'll make a stick. So, stick. Super stick. Why not? Super stick. Okay, so there we go. Oh, and that needs to be like that. And then we need to import the basic item class, which is Control, Shift, and O again. And then we need to... let's see. We then need to create the actual class itself. So we've got the definition of the class. Once we've got the definition of the class, we then need to create a new class. Now, what this does is in... I think it's in pre-init, not in actual... So if I go to here, I'll create a new event handler called pre-init FML pre initialization event. That looks right. And then in there we can do stuff. So we can create the item. So we'll do, where's the name of the item again? It's super stick. So super stick equals new basic item. And then we've got two ways of doing this. I can either make a basic item and not give it a name, which would be horribly bad, or I can give it a name. Now we're going to call it super stick. Yes, that's right. And then we'll do that. And the name that we're giving it is the unlocalized name. That's very important. What that means is that it is the name that is used to reference the object when you do things like the give command. You would reference this name rather than anything at the class name, for example. Now the super stick, we don't have any texture or anything for it, but that's not a problem. Oh, you know what? I've done that completely wrong. Why have I done that? Let's try this. Let's try this instead. Public void. Ah, there we go. That's better. Right, so now that error is gone, I can do this. No? Public void pre-init FML pre-initialization event. Oh. Event. Right, there we go. Import that. Hey, there we go. Right. Okay, so we've fixed that problem. So that creates the stick. The stick is now created. Simple stuff, right? Now, we need to create... we've created the item. It doesn't appear in any tab. Is it creative tabs? It might be, you know. I think it might be creative tabs. Ah, there we go. Right, so let's add this super stick to miscellaneous. Okay. Now that will this will just make it appear in a creative tab so that things make sense. Why isn't it letting me do that? From item to basic item. Okay, well, we'll just do this then. Cut. Right, so rather than confuse things with trying to debug this stuff in a tutorial, what we'll do is I will cut this in here. So I will just set this here. Okay, and I'll also do it in this one. There we go. So that's done. We have added the ability to put it in a tab so that when we look for it, we'll find it. The next thing we need to do is, let me just find my reference. Here we go. Once we've created this, I need to go back to tutorial. So we do new item, which creates a copy of the item, and then we have to register it, which is a long convoluted line of code, but it's basically, it's fairly-ish simple. And this is the last thing we do in pre-init, so we'll just put this here like this, and I'll get rid of all the junk that I don't need. So it's called a super stick, right? And then I do not know what that I is for. Oh, right, that's the item, right? That's the item. Super stick. Super stick plus. So this one here is the type of object it is. And then I is actually super stick. And then that's super stick. Right, so this is what we have in render item. Why is render item not a thing? Do we not have a render item? I may well have forgotten to add a render item. Let me just quickly check. Let's try this. I did that already. Oh, that shouldn't be more food either. That should be item tutorial. Okay, so now I've done that. I just need to figure out what this error is. That's why. This is in. Oh, this isn't in here at all, is it? Let me just do this. Where is the render item? Recipes, smelting, render item. Here we go. So we'll do this. Copy. Paste. Okay, so I've just added some code. It should all be just absolutely fine. I just need to import the render item class. So we create a render item equals Minecraft.getMinecraft.getRenderItem. And what this does is it gets an instance of the item rendering engine, and then we use that class to register how we draw the item we are creating. Now what we're doing here is a bunch of convoluted stuff, but what it's basically saying is at a specific location you will find a JSON file which describes how to render this object. Go there, find it, and do with it what you will. But that is how I want you to render it. And that is basically all it does, okay? And this is all very, very basic stuff. Now, the next thing we need to worry about, the item tutorial mod ID is here, by the way. That's this one up here, which is item tutorial. And that it substitutes it in. It's very simple. So once we've done that, the last thing I think we need to do is we need to add a recipe to create the item. Now, this requires another class, I believe. You know what? I don't think it does. We'll try it without, and if it needs it, we'll add it. But I think this should be just fine the way it is. So, game registry dot add recipe, and then we give it the output. Put the output first, I believe. Yes. So output first. So new item stack and then it's going to be super stick, comma 1, and then no, and then after that we need to do new object, open and close square brackets, open squirrely brackets, and then we do this. We go, and then the recipe's going to be A space space, comma, A space space, comma, and then that'll be it. And then we need to define what those items are that we've just what the A means. It knows that the space is an empty recipe entry, so we just do A, comma, and then it should be blocks, and then it should be blocks dot does it not know what any of that is? Right, what's the problem here? Blocks dot obsidian, right? Obsidian. And that should be the close the squirrely brackets. Like so. Okay, what's the problem? It should know what that is. And I appear to have made a mistake here. Let me have a look. New item stack. Well, open, close. Oh, that. Add recipe, new item stack. Ha ha ha. There we go. That should fix that problem. Okay. So there we go. So that's the recipe that we want. It defines 2, and it has to be on the left-hand side for this recipe to work. 2 obsidians, one above the other, in order to create the super stick. Okay. Now the model mesher is not working apparently, so let's find out what the problem is there. Let me have a look at that. Let me have a look at that. Render item. If I put, wait, just one curly bracket, get rid of that one. Should fix that problem. There we go. Yeah? Is that right? Okay, right. Okay, so we fixed that little weird thing, right? Okay, so there was a little bit of there was an extra bracket and it confused the compiler, but we fixed that problem there. Okay, so what we've done is we've created a recipe, we've registered it to tell it where the JSON file is that tells you what it's supposed to look like is. We've created the basic item. We've got a definition for the basic item which tells it that it is a basic item class called Superstick. And then the basic item is extends item, so it's still an item, but it also allows you to add an unlocalized name directly to the object. All right, so that's almost everything you need to make a basic item. Okay, the last thing you need is, if I can just find the correct folder. Okay, so what we need to do is go into resources. And then we need to create a new package. And this package is called assets dot, and then the name of your item tutorial, name of your mod. And then the next thing we need is models. And then the next thing we need is item. Not items, item. And then in here, it's a new other general file. And it's called superstick.json. Okay? Now, before I edit this file to tell it how it's supposed to work, what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually run this just to show that it's not actually working yet. And then when we run it again, we'll know that it is working. We just need to add a texture. So we're going to fire this up now. Right. So this is the mod installed, and we're just going to create a creative mode world. We'll just make it a normal world and just create. And the reason we're doing this is literally just to check to see what it does when we load it up. What should happen is it should put our new item in the miscellaneous tab on the creative menu, and it should be rendered as a cube with purple and black alternating texture pattern. So we're going to wait for it to load. It will take a moment the first time we do this, because just like in a normal game, it does take a little while to generate the world. So we will just wait for it to do that. There we go. We appear to be in a forest of some description. And then if we go to the miscellaneous tab and scroll down, there it is. Item tutorial, super stick. Now, let's make a note of this because this is important for later on. It is called item tutorial underscore super stick dot name. That's very important because later on we want to be able to change that. And at the moment, if you grab it, it is literally just an item that does nothing. Okay, it does absolutely nothing. It's not a block. You can't place it. Okay. If I go into survival mode, it is... Oh, no. There we go. As you can see, it doesn't allow us to mine or do anything that we wouldn't be able to do normally. So if I go and try and mine some stone from over here, it will take absolutely forever. It doesn't do anything. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to exit out of this because this is our test world now. And then we'll quit. Okay, so now the next thing we want to do is we want to define what the item looks like. The superstick JSON file is very important because it tells you how the item is rendered. Okay, so let's start this very simply. Very simply, this is how you start them all. Parent, built-in, generated, textures, layer 0, and then it's the item tutorial item, and it's items, and then the name is superstick. Okay, and that tells it where the texture is going to be. Okay, you got to remember that. That's where it's going to be. And then a comma, and then display, and then you know what? I'm just going to copy this because it'll just take forever otherwise. Copy, and there's a bunch of stuff that we need to add to this, so I'll just copy it and paste it like so. Okay, so the third person is obviously third person view. Tells you what rotation, what translation, and how big it is. And then the first person is what it looks like in your hand, I believe. So if you want it to look smaller in your hand than it is when it's like outside of the camera, then obviously you need to make that smaller and larger as required. So that is how you define your texture file. And when we load this back up again, which unfortunately does take a little while. Okay, so at the moment, as far as it's concerned, there's one missing texture. And if we load this up, you'll see that there's a missing texture. This is almost done now. And then basically all you need to do is go create a new folder called assets.textures.png. items, and then as you can see, it's now rendering as an item rather than as a block, which is good. Okay, that's very important. As you can see, if I go into the mods folder, the only things that are loaded are the Minecraft Coder Pack, which is what is used for building Forge, Forge Mod Loader, which allows you to load mods into Forge, Forge itself, and Item Tutorial. And then all of this stuff is kept in the mod mcmod.info file. So if you edit this file over here, which I can show you now actually, let me just close out of that now. But yeah, if you edit this file, then this information will appear in Minecraft. Okay, so we have created a super stick, which does absolutely nothing. It is a basic item. It doesn't have any special abilities whatsoever. And we've defined a recipe. If I remember correctly, we did. Yes, because right here you can create one with 2 bits of obsidian in a crafting table. Doesn't do anything, but there you go. Okay, so for the next part of this tutorial, what we will do is I will create a separate tab, and this isn't too difficult to do. It's not too difficult at all. So what we do is create a new class called... what should we call it? Let's call it the tutorial tab. Like so. And then the tutorial tab needs to extend creative tabs. And then it has to have a public tutorial let's just import the right now. Why is that tutorial? We'll just tell it to add unimplemented methods. Now for this, we actually don't want to return that. We actually want to return, and I think we'll do, as we only got one item tutorial dot superstick. And what this does is it returns the superstick as the item, which is displayed in the tab. So we probably want to add a texture to that soon. So that's that done. So this is the class finished. We don't need to go in here ever again, as far as I'm aware. We do need to implement this within the actual main file itself, though. What we need to do is we need to create the creative tab. Okay, so this is very simple. It's simply public static, and then it's yeah, what's that? Tutorial tab. Tutorial tab. My tab. Okay, and then in pre-initialization, which is this. No, that's initialization. We want to do it here, don't we? So we want to do it after the item, I think. So we'll do my tab equals new tutorial tab, and then we need to tell it what it is. Tab tutorial tab. There we go, and that should be it. That should now create the thing. Now, the only thing that I haven't done is in the actual item itself, I need to then change tab misc to tutorial. Tutorial, item tutorial. Dot my tab. And then we'll copy that and paste it in there as well. So there we go, all done. Save that, and then wonder why it's doing that. Maybe it needs to go first. That is exactly what it was. It didn't like the fact that we were creating the tab before we were creating the item. Okay, that's fine. Right, so if I run that now, that should fix the problem. This is the custom mod that we've created, and hopefully it won't crash when I load it up. I believe it should be absolutely fine. But what will happen is there'll be an extra tab when I open. So the item in my hand is the Super Stick, and the Super Stick has no texture and no name at the moment, so I'll have to change that directly. So here it is. It is in its own tab right here. It's no longer in here. It is in here. Okay, and this needs a name as well. Now we need to make a note of that because later on, in fact, that's the next thing we're going to do. We're going to actually give these things names. Okay, so what I'm going to do very quickly is I'm going to get out of here and I'm going to close this, and then we're going to go into a file that we need to edit. The file that we need to create is package. It's not in models. It's in assets, item tutorial, lang. Okay, and then in this package, which is basically a folder, we need to create an other file called en_us.lang. And this is a very important file because it defines what things are called in the US English language, which in the UK is exactly the same thing. It's still the same file. It's a little bit confusing, but there is no EN UK file, for example. So what we're going to do is there are two items we're going to add. We're going to add item group dot tab tutorial tab equals and I think we're going to say tutorial and then item tutorial underscore super stick dot name equals super stick. Okay, and then that's all you need to do for that, and then you should be able to save that off and then go back to this one and then hit play. And then what that will do is that will give those items names. Alright, so if you look at it, if I mouse over it, it's called a super stick. If I go to this tab, it's called tutorial. Okay, so if I click on tutorial, it goes to the tutorial tab and the super stick is in there. If I grab obsidian and a crafting table, I can make a super stick. Alright, and that is as simple as it is. Now the super stick apparently has a stack size of 64, but the super stick could be used for anything. It could be a weapon, it could be a tool, it could be a crafting material for something else. Who knows? But that is how you make items. I think I will wrap up this video, and then next video I'll probably do how to make a block, just a basic one. I'm aiming these videos at people who have never made a mod before. Okay, so if you have any questions, please leave a message in the comments on the video and I will try and answer them. The next video is going to be one that is for blocks, so custom blocks, and then I will basically try and create tutorials based on the stuff that I've learned. So I might do one on how to make food, I might do one on how to make custom recipes that I don't know. I'll think of something. I'll think of different videos, and if you give me ideas in the description as to what you want to see, don't expect tutorials on how to make a copy of Equivalence Exchange, or how to make a jetpack or something. This is going to be basic tutorials. And I'm not going to be doing complicated things. I'll leave that to the professionals, such that they are. I'll leave that to the awesome people like Wubby and Pahimar and VSWE. They're all the ones that I learned how to mod with, and this is just basically something that I'm doing so that the people that watch my streams, if they ask me a question, because I quite often I'm working on mods in my streams, if they want to know how to do a basic thing and I want to concentrate on what I'm doing, I don't want to say no, I'm not going to show you. I want to be able to show them. So that's what this video is for. So don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Thank you very much, and goodbye.